For 10 years, I struggled with seizures, and we weren't exactly sure what type they were. But in 2018, my doctor was able to diagnose me with epilepsy. My first seizure was initially a little over 10 years ago, and I was at my parents' home. I don't remember much because I did lose consciousness. I just remember sitting on the couch, and then all of a sudden I got this funny feeling, and the room kind of started spinning, and I just remember starting to fall off the couch. The last thing I remember was waking up in an ambulance. And then after that, the next day I woke up in a hospital room. The doctors said you had this grand mal seizure, and we are trying to figure out exactly why you had this seizure. Prior to that first seizure, I did have a few health issues. I played a high level of soccer and had a number of pretty significant concussions that did cause some issues. So those definitely caused bumps in the road. I don't think it really crossed my mind if it would totally change the trajectory of my life or not. And so I continued on with the path that I was on, with the hopes and dreams and desires that I had, totally unaware that my life would look completely different today. About 1 year after I had that first seizure, I had another seizure. This one was even bigger and worse, and it ended up putting me in the hospital for a few days, and it put me in a coma for a few days. That seizure really was the red flag for me that my life could look different. I couldn't go to my doctoral program that I was accepted to at that time, and I was coaching collegiate soccer. I had to stop working for 3 months because I was so sick from the symptoms of the seizure and the effects of being in the hospital. And it continued to just change and morph over the years, and I had a few more of those grand mal loss of consciousness seizures, but then I also had more of what we call focal seizures. And so that really caused fear and worry, because suddenly I realized I wouldn't be able to have certain jobs. I wouldn't be able to communicate with my friends or family or even strangers the way I usually did. Those seizures changed the way I interpersonally related to the whole world and caused me to definitely move inward a little bit more due to that. I don't know that I could quantify how many total seizures I had. I know for grand mal seizures, I had 4 or 5, which is not a lot compared to many people with epilepsy. For my focal seizures, I had on average 8 to probably 10 a day. And some days I had upwards of 50, and I would just be on the couch because they would just come one after the other. And it would cause just so much exhaustion and brain fog, and I wouldn't be able to do really anything else because my brain was just so overwhelmed with dealing with the seizures. So those types of days happen probably twice a month. Keeping my mental state was probably one of the most important things. And my faith was definitely the thing that really pushed that forward. And without that, I wouldn't be where I am today. For me, it was just telling myself over and over. I was just harking back to my athlete days of just that mentality of competing and looking for answers like that. And so I just kept searching with an intensity and a hope that there had to be something out there. I really believe that the things that were instilled in me as an athlete really benefited my journey. And I'm so grateful for all of those years and all of the coaches that really placed within me those life lessons, because they came in so beneficially. My seizures have been going on for 10 years, and we still didn't officially have a diagnosis of the root cause. And I was able to see a doctor who really specialized in epilepsy, and he took kind of one look at my case and heard the story and saw my tests, and he just said to me, "You have epilepsy." It was both, I will say, freeing because I had a diagnosis, but also kind of like, oh, is this the diagnosis I want? Am I prepared to move through life with this official diagnosis? having a diagnosis changed things mentally for me, because at times I was worried or scared to tell people about the seizures I was having for fear of how they would perceive me and perceive what was going on with me, and that stigmatism of seizures and, all of those things. I was just worried. But for some reason, having that diagnosis took that weight off of my back. I was able to just say so freely to people, oh, I have epilepsy, and not feel that fear anymore. That was encouraging for me. When it comes to my treatment, one of the things I was already doing, really making sure that I was getting enough sleep, eating a good diet, which generally I do, and that wasn't really a huge change for me anyway. But then the biggest thing was really giving me pointed care with my medication. And so just having a doctor that knows about which medications to prescribe is also so important. The biggest piece of advice I would give is just to not give up hope, which sounds so cliche, but it is so important to keep pushing forward and to keep finding a way to move forward. Anything will look different for us, but I think especially people with a chronic illness, or people that have experienced an injury, or people that have been misdiagnosed, or whatever it is for people, I think hope has to be the binding force for those people.